Okay, what we're working on here is the upward and downward 3 and different iterations of those. I will start with the upward 3. Just as a reminder, the upward 3, start on that hip, upward, roll it back down, upward, cross body, and come back in, and return with the number 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and back. We could, again, iterations, we can do the same thing in reverse grip. If you think of a karambit style blade, 1, 2, 3. So what's now thrusting motions become slashing motions. When I came up on this arc, what was a thrusting action is now a slash, thrust, thrust, slash, slash, slash on the same lines. Look at the intermediary of the actions here as I come in. If I come up here, thrust. As I roll this motion down, slash, thrust, slash, thrust, slash. So thrust, slash, thrust, slash, thrust, slash. As I come to that motion, again, if I reverse it, every slash becomes a thrust, every thrust becomes a slash. Slash, thrust, slash, thrust, slash, thrust. Again, just a different iteration of using that same pattern. So that's the upward 3. This shows up, the upward 3 shows up in the asymmetric knife tapping and the symmetric knife tapping, where we rolled in here and as we got opposition to a common block, as I came in with that 3 line, I cut underneath. This pattern, and that's what we're going to go into next, is this next piece here of the application against common blocks. So with what this looks like is if I did that 1, 2, 3 series, so 1, 2, 3 on that series, I'm going to come up, as I break center line with the knife, I'm going to return that and turn that into a slash and come back to my hip and cut back to here. So thrust, slash. Now I'm coming up with a 2 line, thrust, I cross center here, and now I'm going to slash down and reaching under. Think about cutting the belly or cutting an arm as I come underneath. Come back here, I'm going to come back to either low line, which will take me back to that number 1 slash, 2 slash, or I come back here, I come back to my high line here, bring it back to here. Same thing, if this gets stopped, I'm going to roll and cut underneath. And this is going to take me to the cross body. So if we can just come back on the 2 line here. In the asymmetric knife tapping, this showed up commonly as thrust, slash, thrust, slash, thrust, slash. As we did this series, this is where your sort of offensive piece of that comes from. Same thing here on this series as I cut. That this is how this material works out. Aaron, if you can come in for a second. The actual application of the material in the asymmetric knife tapping or the symmetric knife tapping, what we showed was, is he comes in here, what happens if I go underneath? So right, I get, again, common block, common flinch response. I'm feeding in here, well, I get the arm. So I can turn and cut or I can turn and cut, either way. That's what this is showing us here, turn and cut. Same thing, I come in this way, something comes this way, turn and cut. And I can either cut arm or if I reach long enough, I can cut body. That's what this is showing here. Same thing here, downward block. If something comes in this way, here I can either take arm or I can reach and take the body. So this is all application against common blocks. I call this the thrust to slash series about where this application is coming from. But if you did it in practice, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
Face that way one time.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, and 1. Obviously, I'm using a 2 between every 1 and 3 because I need to get back to the opposite side. But in that series, if you just wanted to isolate it, 1, 2, 3, and then you can just also come back if we didn't want to necessarily follow the pattern of the drill. What I was just showing was the pattern in asymmetric knife tapping as or symmetric knife tapping as we come back and forth across. If you're isolating this, doing the solo, you could go 1, 2, 3 in pattern here. Now 1, 2, 3 here as we come across. Again, I've come back to here, but you could just easily come back right to here. The other iteration of this would be basically broken thrusting on the upward 3. All that is 1, 2, 3. Just working these broken action lines. So instead of being fluid thrusts coming across, it's broken, broken, broken. So broken, you'll see bicep checking in here, not necessarily as important, but it's there. So an iteration of those same lines as we run through it. So that is upward 3 with a couple different iterations and versions that you can use and practice with. All of these come out in different drills, so good.
Pausers.